Senator, we just wanted to get your reaction to the piece of news that we had prior to having you, which was the recent Okta survey that says that the Marcoses or the pro-Marcos supporters are up 2% from the second quarter, while the Pro-Dutertes supporters are lower by 1%. Medyo pasok pa rin siya sa margin of error. But how do you feel that political affiliation is now down to your two families, the Marcoses and the Dutertes? And even analysts say that the midterms will be a determinant kung gaano kalakas ang Marcos brand. Siyempre yung mga umaalyado po dun sa inyong pamilya.
Alam niyo nakakatawa nga paano ba tinatanong yun? Kung pro isa, pro o kontra sa isa, hindi naman tumatakbo yung isa laban sa isa. Napakalabo para sa akin na hindi ako masyadong naniniwala, hindi ako nagtitiwala dyan, higit sa lahat, dahil ayokong pinagsasabong ang dalawang pamilya, ang dalawang partido, pinaghahati-hati ang Pilipinas. I really do not like this divisiveness, this polarization. It's not healthy. Is it the solid north versus the solid south? We're all Filipinos and we have serious problems. Higit sa lahat, itong mga binubuli o kinukuyog, palibasa wala na sa posisyon. Sa palagay ko, tiniis na namin yan. For 36 years, kami yun. Kami yung parating binubuli at kinukuyog. Sa lahat ng ayokong mangyari, gawin sa ibang pamilya, palibasa bumaba na sila sa posisyon.
Is that the reason, Senator Imee, kung bakit hindi kayo sumama doon sa launch nung senatorial slate of the ruling party? And you have said that you're going to stay independent. Or was it true na, as President BBM said, na busy ka lang daw po that day?
No, I made it very clear. I had a proper statement saying that I would be independent and wouldn't join the alliance simply because I think the acrimony, the bitterness, the anger involved in any election is not something I'd like to get involved in. There's already enough of that right now in the country. Ayokong pumanig sa isa laban sa kabila. Ayokong nakikipag-away. At ang gusto ko, makatawid. I'd like to be able to cross the line, to be able to talk to all factions, to all families, to all parties, and that way, finally be able to work. Hindi naman tayo panig na lamang ako sa sambayan ng Pilipino at hindi na sa isang alyansa, labang sa kabilang alyansa, nalaban pa sa iilang alyansa. Wag na lang ganon.
And how will that affect your campaign for the midterm elections, no?
I'm not certain. I haven't figured that part out yet. So far, hindi pa naman kampanya. So, ang pinupuntahan ko, yung mga barkada nating mga local government. Matagal kasi akong gobernador, marami akong kaibigan. Ayun, pumupunta ako. Ngayon, for example, it's Cooperative Month. So, all the co-ops are actually celebrating, and being the chairperson of cooperatives in the Senate, nakukumbida naman ako. Masaya naman ako pumunta kasi barkadahan, masaya. So far, ganon. As to the campaign proper, I haven't seen exactly what's going to be done, and I have to figure that one out yet.
Okay. Senator, there's been talk that it was actually you who brought your brother together with the Vice President prior to the elections. Pero sabi ni PBBM is, I always thought we were friends, but I think I may have been deceived. Kasi sinabi nga ni VP Sara na she was never friends with PBBM and kayo daw po ang magkaibigan. Pero bakit po sabi ni PBBM, maybe I was deceived?
I have no idea. You have to ask him. But certainly, sinabi na ni Inday Sara na hindi nga sila magkakilala noong 2021. Ako nagpakilala kasi kilala ko na siya, na-meet ko na siya noon pa. At sabi ko, tatakbo ka ba? Dahil maraming pumipila noon para maging Vice President. Vice President lamang, hindi naman inakala na magiging President. Pagkat kung naaalala ninyo, Vice President Sara at that point as Mayor of Davao was way ahead of any other candidate for President in 2021. And it would have been a complete walkover for her, but she chose not to run.
Sen, I wonder if you've had a chance to talk to your brother about you choosing to run as an independent?
I think it came from him, sort of. Sabi niya, paano yan? Mamaya, hindi tayo magka-pareho. Baka banatan ako sa entablado. Sabi ko, hindi naman ako bumabanat sa entablado. And it's no secret, I've made it very well known that in many, many cases, I'm not in agreement with certain of the administration's policies. Palagay ko, bilang manang, sino pa magsasabi ng totoo kung hindi yung manang mo? Kaya, nag-aalala siya, baka daw magkaganon. Sabi ko, hindi naman ako bumabanat sa'yo. Yung policy nga lang, kapag mali, o yung isang opisyal, kapag mali, obligado akong magsalita, trabaho ko yan eh. Pero nung umuwi ako, naisip ko, paano kung baliktad naman? Yung mga importante sa akin, yung mga mahal ko rin, babanatan ng lubos-lubusan, baka hindi ko rin matiis at magre-react ako. Mas maigi na umiwas sa ganung usapin. We know how nasty elections can be, and it's very, very important for me that I should remain with a working relationship for all parties involved. That's the only way I think I can serve the Filipino people.
And having said,
so it was, so to be clear, it was his idea that you run as an independent. Because nga, you don't agree.
No. I think you're misinterpreting. I think what I said was that he asked if I was going to publicly disagree with him on the stage and so on. And I said, of course, I don't do that. But on the other hand, what if some of the other candidates, other officials start attacking people who are really, really important to me, or policies that are very important and strongly held by me for a long duration of time? Mahirapan din ako. So mas maigi na umiwas at maging independent.
would that one of those
It
be...
didn't come from him.
Yeah.
The question simply was that,
Right, okay.
paano? Sabi ko, maiipit ako nito, hindi na maganda yan.
Yeah.
And having said that, Senator Imee, how is your friendship with VP Sara through the breakup, a much publicized breakup of the unit team? Are you still in touch, or do you still have each other's backs?
Of course. I'm very much in touch with all of them. Ang totoo, kaibigan naman natin ang mga Duterte. Para sa akin, talagang may utang na loob pa rin ako. Linibing yung tatay ko at tinulungan ako maging senador. Tinatanaw ko yung utang na loob at ako'y nahihirapan sa mga panahong ito na talagang nagkakatunggali. Kung minsan, hindi dahil sa tunay na alitan, kundi minsan ang pakiramdam ko talagang maraming nasa paligid na talagang nang pupugon, sabi nga sa Bisaya. Kaya lang, I think that kung may kaibigan kang dalawa na hindi nagkakaintindihan, hindi nagkakaunawaan, gagawin mo ba yun na pag-aawayin mo sila? Siyempre, mag-iintay ka ng panahon na sana mabuksan din ang pag-uusap nila muli at magkaunawaan at bumalik ang pagkakaibigan.
So may
para din naman ganun At ganyan ako sa lahat ng bagay, higit sa lahat sa lokal. Kung iisipin natin, the administration alliance involves 5 parties, and just going down to the local level, to the municipal level, in many, many cases, those 5 parties are going head-to-head for governor, for mayor, and for congressman. So it's very, very difficult, particularly in the solid north, where everyone is really close and very, very long-standing family friends.
Babalik ako na po yung hearing, yung ito expose nga po ni dating Police Colonel Ruina Garma. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not the authority there. Hindi ako nakinig.
hindi po kayo nakinig.
I was actually conducting a hearing on the DSWD and many allegations that were made about the favoritism in providing ayuda. Para sa akin, ang ayuda ay dapat ibigay sa mahihirap, hindi sa politikong malakas.
That's what I wanted to ask you also, Sen Imee, no? It is budget season, as you mentioned earlier.
Tama. So,
and,
nakatutok ako sa budget. Kung mapapansin ninyo, absent ako sa mga investigasyon kapag hindi ako naniniwala, may tutumbukin na bagong batas. Kung wala namang batas na uuwian, parang feeling ko, diretso na tayo sa korte, wag nang magdadaldalan dito at wala namang mauuwian na kaso to.
Yun nga po kasi po, Sen, no, tapusin ko lang. Yung nagyari po kasi sa 2024 budget, no, may mga lumalabas, napakaraming insertion, ganito, ganyan. Kayo po ba sa Senado, and particularly you in your office, binabantayan niyo po ba na hindi maulit itong mga insertions after na nung
Oo,
BICAM?
masama ang loob ko dyan eh. Kasi ang dalawa kong hawak, yung COMELEC budget at saka yung DSWD budget, yung dalawang linapastangan dun sa BICAM last year. Ang sama-sama ng loob ko kasi nagulat na lang ako, lahat nagulanta na biglaan na 12 billion ang dinagdag para sa Chacha, sa PI, doon sa COMELEC budget. Wala naman silang hinihingi na ganon. Nagulat na lang kami lahat, and I believe DSWD was the same, where suddenly there was an ACA project no one had ever heard of, and which they had to formulate guidelines for only in February or March this year, because nobody had actually heard of ACAP at all, but it had a tag of 26 billion. Mabigat-bigat yun, kasi parang, ano ba, nalusutan ba tayo? Ano ba nangyari? So, ganun yun eh. There's a great deal of inter-chamber courtesy. And we tend to be very easy on the other chambers' additions, insertions, initiatives. But perhaps it's better that we start coordinating more tightly this year so that these shocks are prevented.
Senator, speaking of the budget, I just wonder if you agree with the 700 million budget given to the Office of the Vice President by the lower house, or will you push for a higher budget at the Senate for VP Sara?
At this point in time, we haven't heard the budget of the Vice President. I just heard it very briefly during the subcommittee hearing. We'll have to hear it in the plenary. And of course, it's always subject to the greater number of senators. Ano? So, kailangan pag-usapan muna at tignan kung ano talaga ang karapat-dapat. Kanina, naungkat dahil DSWD budget, yung investigasyon, because the DSWD promised to investigate the allegations made that the requests for ayuda and other social protection from the DSWD, from the OVP, were always turned down. So there was a hint of some level of politicking. A congressman also, Congressman Olaso from Zamboanga, turned up and said that he was humiliated because his AIX was suddenly held back. These same complaints have been heard over the past, and we urged the Secretary, quite above and beyond the usual denials, to prove that in fact this hasn't occurred.
Senator, sabi nga po nila, no, yung AIX na nabanggit ninyo, yan daw po yung bagong pork barrel. What do you have to say to that? Because it's supposed to be an agency fund, pero nahahaluan ng politika, nadidikitan ng ano.
Ng mga local, mga LGU.
I mean, do you agree with that? What do you have to say?
Palagay ko yung LGU nga lugi eh. I think that's not quite right. Ang nangyayari, talagang mas malalaking politiko ang nakikialam. Yun ang problema talaga.
What do you mean by that, Sen?
Yung LGU nga, tumutulong eh. Kasi there are very, very few DSWD employees, and they don't have the capacity to go down to the barangays, whereas the barangays really help them try and figure out who the genuinely poor and needy are. Siyempre, alam natin, dinideny ng DSWD yan, pero marami na kaming nakausap ng mga regional director at iba pa na talagang umaangal.
Actually, it was VP Sara herself who said that, who claimed that the budget was being politicized, right?
Yes, precisely. I think she has complained about that.
She claimed,
Senators Ko and Bato de la Rosa, myself, have all complained about that. But, I think similar complaints have been made by congressmen and many, many others.
But Sen, so she said that the budget is being manipulated. But Sen, on the other hand, your brother, the president, has himself said he doesn't think that's what's happening. He said that, you know, every single government agency just has to undergo that level of scrutiny for their budget. Nothing is being politicized here. Where does that leave you?
Well, my brother has to give them the benefit of the doubt. He is, after all, the president. But you and I know that there is no perfect administration, and it is our duty, both as elected officials and as media persons, to report those mistakes, those errors, those injustices.
Okay, lastly, Sen Imee, we asked this question of every re-election as well, pretty much everyone who filed the COC. Why do you want another term in Senate? What's going to be your platform this time?
Oh, my platform remains the same all the time. Nabitin kami. We are the senators who got struck with COVID for 2.5 years. So I started already with my agrarian reform program. Nabigyan na ng titulo ang karamihan ng mga magsasaka. Nabura na yung utang nila. Libre na sila. Na-condone na yung mga utang nila. But as we know well, the title's only as good as a piece of paper if there's no backup to it. So they still are so impoverished. They still have no mechanization. They still have no subsidies for gasoline that has just skyrocketed, and for fertilizer and so on. So that's the second part of the program. The other thing, of course, is that as the head of social justice, I've managed to push forth the expansion of the Centenarians Act and give them their social stipends for our elderly. Pero kulang pa rin because our PWD, particularly those who are severely challenged, get no help at all from the government. Kawawa naman sila at yung kanilang pamilya. Samantalang yung mga PWD na ganadong-ganado magtrabaho, walang pagkakataon magtrabaho. Ganon din yung solo parents. So there's still a great deal of work to be done. Bitin ang aking term bilang senador.
On your agriculture platform, Sen, what's the plan to curb smuggling and hoarding, which, as we both know, is an age-old issue?
Yes, I think that's very, very important. Unfortunately, today you can't tell. Is it the Bureau of Customs? Is it a legal importer? Is it a smuggler? Parang karambola na sila. We need to understand that. But most of all this diminution in tariff and excise tax has not resulted in cheaper prices, and instead has really disadvantaged our local farmers. Kawawa ang ating mga magsasaka, tulungan natin. Hindi lang yung konting limos na binibigay pa minsan-minsan, kundi siguro bigyan natin ng sahod, karampatang sahod para madoble yung income. There's an alarming statistic that's come out that in fact there is an exodus from our countryside. Wala nang gustong magtanim. Kanervyos nga. So at the rate we're going, with the average farmer being 58 years old, it's estimated by 2030 we will be importing everything we eat.
Yeah.
That is a really dismal and dangerous proposition.
Well, in fact, there was news yesterday that we're the world's biggest importer of rice still this coming
Yes, we
year.
have been for several years,
Yeah.
and
That hasn't changed.
that's unbelievable to me. It's totally shocking because we know that the shortfall of local rice is very small. It started at 3%, it's now about 15%. Bakit tayo naging biggest? Nakakapagtaka. Samantalang bundok-bundok ng palay at ng bigas ay nananatili sa South Cotabato, na iiwan pa rin sa Nueva Ecija. Bakit hindi yun muna ang bilhin ng NFA at ng DA, at wag import na lang ng import lagi? Kawawa naman ang ating mga magsasaka. Unahin ng Pilipino.
Well, yeah.
Pinapayaman natin ang Vietnamese, ang Thai, pati ang Indian. Eh bakit yung Pilipinong magsasaka hindi unahin for a change?
Well, to be fair to the admin, they're just trying to bring the prices down in the short term, right? Because wala pa po yung
The
productivity.
question arises though, they brought excise taxes, it was at 50%, and I recall the prices at that point were 38 pesos. We brought down the 50% to 35%. The prices went up to 48 pesos. We're now at
45.
15% excise tax, and the prices have gone to 60, 62 pesos, hindi pa bumababa. Eh, nakukulitan na yata si Secretary Laurel sa akin kasi sabi niya, August babagsak na yan. Came and went, September naman daw, ngayon October. Nako talaga naman, sana bumagsak ang presyo, pero hindi pa rin yan makatotohanan ng presyo. Hindi siya sustainable, at alam naman natin, pag walang na-collect ang taripa, wala nang maibabalik sa ating mga farmers. Because the tariffs collected for imported rice also go to mechanization and fertilizer and inbred rice and so on
Right.
for our local farmers. So there's a quid pro quo to all this.
Yeah, so your point being the tariffs haven't helped at all. We're going to have to leave that there.
Yes, I think that's the same case with the pork. If you notice, andyan pa rin ang presyo ng liempo pagkataas-taas at yung manok. So it's not an automatic, immediate thing. In fact, the traders and importers take advantage of the very low tariffs.
Yeah. We're going to have to leave that there for tonight. We hope to have you back on the show to talk about other issues. That was re-election as Senator Imee Marcos.